If you could describe radical acceptance in one word, phrase, or mantra, what would it be?
Unapologetic. I'm giving my baby, which is my inner child, I'm giving my baby the radical love it needs, or she or he or they need, because you were perfect from the day you came out, brah. I love me. I love everyone else that's loved me, and I love who doesn't love me. And I radically accept me so much that I can't help but to radiate that energy.
Hi, love. This is Queerify, formerly known as Quest, a journey to wellness. We're helping to demystify what wellness means for QPOC. And I'm V, aka Loveless Monster. I'm a two-spirit human, joy influencer, and all pronouns accepted. Every year during this season, we like to be very intentional about celebrating Indigenous practices and how we can all tap into re-indigenizing life. Not only during the season though, because all year round, we have Indigenous peoples coming in and out as guests. Today's guest is Indigenous to Hawaii, but before I tell you more about them, have you ever met someone in your life that was literally magic walking? Like you were just so attracted to their existence that without even an exchange of words, you were already like, that is going to be my next best friend. And then you speak and boom. Well, the person we have on this episode today, their magic is just incredible. The moment I saw them in a coffee shop, I was just like, yes, that is my future best friend. And then we spoke and we both were in agreement of like, did we just become best friends? But I don't want to spoil the episode to you because it'll be more fun to hear it from both of us, and our chemistry is just, it's fun. It is fun, y'all. I am going to attempt to say their full Hawaiian name with the utmost respect in the pronunciation. Kele, I'm sorry if I mess this up, but I'm going to do my best. Tiana Malia Kele'eli'i Kauai Hoa Marquez. For the episode, they are allowing us to call them Kele, and all pronouns are accepted. Kele is a native Hawaiian who identifies as Māhū. If you don't know what Māhū is, it's similar to the Native American term Two-Spirit. And if you don't know what that is, Two-Spirit is kind of in the name, but if you still got questions, Google it. They were raised on the Aina, is what they say, of Mauna Lua on the island of Oahu. And they are a student of uhi, which is a Hawaiian traditional tattooing, and a student of genealogy. In this episode, we're going to just go from a lot of the things that they're learning in terms of genealogy and their role as a healer in their community using these traditional Hawaiian medicines from Ava, which is also known as Kava, to uhi, which is their traditional tattooing, and how the symbiotic relationship that they have doing community work, doing personal work, and it amplifying that ancestral work, that genealogy work. All of it is just a really beautiful symbiotic relationship, and it's really helping them on their journey to reconnecting with their own authenticity. Enjoy this episode because this episode is truly a gift. Love y'all. Enjoy.
Aloha mai kākou, e nāhua. O Ahualua, kaino ko mokune. O Mauna Lua, kaino ko akua, aiole o Nehana. O Kohelepelepe, kaino o ko Unua Pele. O Kaiwi, kaino o Kaiala. O Ihi Lawakia, kaino o Ua. I'm Ovao Kele, aloha mai kako, my friends. Hello to everybody. I am from the island of Oahu, which you folks know as Oahu, from the most southeastern point in the land division of Mauna Lua. I come from the Lua Pele, or the crater right below of Kele. I am from the ocean channel of Kaiwi, and I am from the reign of Ihi Lawakea, and I am Kele. Can I do a queer fun fact? Bruh, I was the first one out in my high school.
No way.
Yes, well, it was Catholic private school, but whatever. But yes, I am Kanaka Oiwi. I identify as Kanaka Oiwi, which is, I have blood ties to this land. I'm Native Hawaiian. All pronouns accepted. And I am Māhū Hawaii. So I am two-spirited in the in-between from the island of Oahu.
Also, would you like to introduce your son?
As you can hear, maybe he'll chime in and he will continuously chime in. That is Chiki Boy Wila, and he's my rooster and he's outside and you will hear him.
You're waiting for him to be on cue.
And sometimes he will sit and perch right at this post and stare. So he might tune in.
Did you already do your prayer?
Oh, yes. Let's get into that. So just to set precedent, give you the introduction, but I'll do Pule, which sets the precedent for just calling in the entity that I want, my God, and we can start it. So, Na'amakua, my kalahi kia kalakau, my kaho kuia kalawan. Na'amakua yakahina kua yakahina yaka kauikalani, ki hai kalani, we kalani, uni kalani, kaho ni kalani. Ia nā pulipula au ko o hau mea, e mana mo ko yama. E uli kalani, e uli kuponua, e uli kupai aino Hawaii, e ho mai kaike, e ho mai kaikaika. E ho mai kiakamai, e ho mai kumawhika pone, e ho mai keiki pāpānua, e ho mai kamana a mamawana. So pretty much I called in my Omafua, my ancestors on the other realm, asking for guidance, strength, and sharing that all with you folks today.
I felt like a vibration moving through my body while you were saying.
You can feel a vibration through your body.
I was like, ooh.
Yes, that pule, I was privileged enough when I took space on the Mauna for activist purposes. We would pray that about 3 to 4 times a day. So early morning, 6 a.m., morning, afternoon, night. Na'amak was one of the bread and butter types of pules here that you were being kind of, trying to get you folks familiar with as well.
I went to a private Catholic college, and I think I was the only one that was like really out on campus too. Yeah,
I was so out that they brought the ruler and did the whole sit away from your friend. I'm like,
what?
Oh yeah, girl. It's not so real. Like, yeah, I think I was one. How do I hear there? I was a sophomore in high school. For my friends, and they were like, "Yeah, that makes sense." And I was like, "Right." And then, and then I think only two other people were out in my high school when I graduated.
And by out, did you identify as Māhū?
I identified as Māhū. It was interesting though, because I learned my Hawaiian-ness after being in the private Catholic high school. So I knew I was Hawaiian, but I didn't know, like, because they don't use Māhū, like growing up over here, sometimes they did not use Māhū in a positive connotation. So there was a lot of loming or massaging through those thoughts and what that meant. But I was like, yeah, wahine, Māhū. But everyone else knew that we had myself and my other friend had wahine. And yeah, it was interesting. It's 2010. So it was like kind of interesting, but also in that high school, I think I went to school with maybe a handful of Kanaka Orivi as well. Like eight of us.
What is that?
8 Hawaiians in the high school at the time.
Oh.
Very, very.
And wahine, does that mean women?
Women, yes. Sorry, yes. Wahine is women. Māhū, two-spirited. Here. But yeah.
What does Māhū mean for you?
For me, it means who you are in the community and the abilities that you have and a multi-perspective viewpoint can shed light on a lot of issues here. So when Māhū to me is you're a healer, you're a therapist, you're a listener, you're an advocate. Māhū, in this day and age in 2024, we have to carve the ways for us and younger Māhū to see that you have a place here in the middle and what that means as a Hawaiian. I embrace my Māhū-ness in ways where it's funny because I feel like people, they don't misgender me because I'm all pronouns, but they'll be like, oh yeah, he, da, 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 da. Like they pick, a lot of people here pick up on the entity of Māhū, whether they are radically against it or not. People can't help it because people here read energy, or in my community, they are conscious.
That's awesome. That reminds me of like when I first met you working, like I was helping a friend out. Shout out Bianca Mitra at Cafe Barfield.
Barfield, baby. For all your caffeinated needs.
Right. Well, the first time I saw you there, I was like, who is that human?
I thought that about
immediately. I didn't even like put a pronoun on you. I was just straight up just like, who is that human?
Yeah.
I want to be friends like immediately because your energy just radiated like so. It was just awesome to see someone existing in your existence.
You as well. And to be honest, I was going to that cafe frequently prior to when I saw you. And then I hadn't been there for a minute. So when I popped in, I was like, who is that human? Because you're standing helping. And I was like, no, I'm not, this is an interestingly familiar energy. And I wonder what will happen. And then from there on, we jumped through a portal that day and started talking. And then I don't even know where we went on that canoe ride.
Right. We were like, did we just become best friends?
Yeah. When the Spider-Mans look at each other, they're like,
yeah, right. It was really interesting just because, like, for me, before then, like, I was going through disability and I was, like, out of work for so long. And, like, I wasn't socializing as much because I was stuck, like, with my leg up in the air trying to heal. And so in that, I also felt like before the disability, I had this disconnect with the universe and just like with the magic around me. And it felt like meeting you, it was like unlocking that magic again.
That's interestingly how I felt in that time period as well. Because when I met you, I mean, I am going through, as we know that Pluto is moving into a big transformative closing of a very large door that was open since I was 22. I'm 32 now, and then transitioning into coming back home, meeting new people, my home, not feeling like my home really because of me evolving or growing and having my new self. But when I met you, I was in my own type of internal spiritual turmoil. I feel like I didn't know who I was. The way I usually grounded myself didn't work. Like I had to adjust. And a lot of it was meeting you and listening to your perspective. Shout out Gemini. What? But even the people you brought me around. The first day I met you, V, in the cafe, you invited me to the house and to celebrate
for my birthday.
For the birthday, the lahamau. And yeah, I got the privilege to be around people that I knew I needed to be around, even for that split moment, in terms of what radical love feels like, what radical acceptance feels like. And even for that shooting star of a moment, being around them once, that was very medicinal to me. So yeah, I mean, we were both kind of going through, interestingly, but we just saw the sun and everything in each other. We're like, the vibes could carry us through these things, which is, the energy.
Absolutely. Like, and it continues. It's like every time I see you, I speak to you, I get a text from you. It's like that like spark of magic that like excite me like a little kid, like it's about to be Christmas.
Yes. Like you remind me of my friend where when I was little, I would wake up really early in the morning and I was like, Mom, can I call my friend to play? It's like 6:30 a.m. can you wait till like 10? And I'm like, yeah. And now I feel like I'm like, oh, V, my friend.
Yeah.
Nah.
And it's a beautiful feeling. And even now, from when I first met you to who you are today, I'm kind of curious on how you would answer this question is, who is Kele today? And what do you do today that keeps you connected and grounded?
Yeah. Kele today is brave, very, very brave. I do not think I would have my perspectives and even be liberated to go by the name Kele here without learning who Kele was or is in Aina Okoa, or a different land. So my umbilicus felt like it stretched so far following rugby. My umbilicus stretched so far, so I didn't have the normal Aina that I'm used to, the normal things I was around, but also Kele. I mean, I never felt comfortable going by Kele in my own Aina Hana over here. Sometimes there's friction when things change. You know, it's like, whoa. And especially as Māhū, right? Being liberated in whatever age you are, or identifying, or even going by another name. Everybody here knew me as T. Oh, it's Tiana as T. But Kele is, my mother named me Keleli'i. And to my mother, that and me, that it also, interestingly enough, it was on a mug, okay? And it said Shirley on it. My grandmother's name is Shirley, but I don't believe in any coincidences in my life. So Keleli'i Koaihua, which is my 2 Hawaiian names, it's navigation. To Ho'okele is to navigate, to be a navigator, to venture and voyage, and that's your function. Koaihua is the water's companion of water. So to me, there's no, I go by Kele, but I am all of my, Tiana Malia Keleli'i Koaihua Marquez is who I am. I go by Kele. I am liberated as Kele, as a Māhū, and as a Kanakawiwi here, but Kele is brave. Kele kicking down doors. I've never been able to do that here because of the fear of, I don't want to offend. I see things are categorized. We're kind of, it feels like a place in the middle, felt a little cramped to me until I just said, nah, I'm gonna have to stand up a little straighter, stand up with my heart a little taller, and this is who I am. And I do this because baby me needed this. I am healing my own inner child by liberating all parts of that child. And this is a part that hasn't been able to be liberated. So my grounding, when I'm far away, I am a student of Pākalai'ili, which is the traditional hand tapping tattoo on the island of Maui. My kumu, my teacher, is Chase Kai Keli'i Pākawa. I am a studying genealogist. I like to say I don't like to call myself a genealogist, but I do like to say that I'm a student of this practice and I'm a life learner of genealogy. So Kele needed that. I needed that, being far away. And there was a moment where I wasn't doing that. I was not turning to my ancestors, and I felt like I had the bravery, because before I'd always ask permission. Everything's ask. And I understand. But me being on a different land, I was like, I'm not gonna ask. I'm gonna be. And I'm gonna ground myself and find new ways, appreciate myself as a settler on Turtle Island. I don't know what that feels like, as I identify as Indigenous here. So me settling there, I had to learn new winds. I had to learn new currents. I had to learn new people. I had to let go of old beliefs. And coming back home, it went full circle, because my genealogy and my study, people pop up when I'm trying to search, or I'm trying to find the line back that goes 5, 6, 7, 8, 32 generations. People pop up when I do my studying and I go through the archives, and some lines don't appear to you. Your ancestors don't come to you until you're ready to absorb that and information and download that mana that they have. So Kele is multidimensional. Kele is brave. Kele is fearless. Kele is a path carving. And I'm doing this for younger Māhū, younger Po'e Māhū, the younger community coming up so that they see that their place in the middle has a lot of space.
Awesome. So it's like you reconnecting to your ancestors and your bloodline and all of that is what kind of brought you closer to yourself.
Yes.
And for those people that aren't able to find a teacher the way that you have, how would you advise someone to connect with their ancestors in this way?
In this way, I think for me, there's the logistical side of going through, like the tangible side of going through archives. If you're privileged, if you're lucky, some people are not as lucky. Even, you know, my mother's adopted. So we have Hanai, which is adoption, which is just as much important as who you come from in terms of your DNA. But to find a teacher, I think a lot of it to reconnect with ancestors was just conscious talking to them when you know their names. When I did Na'aumakua and I call Haumea to the space, I know that a lot of the things I might think of or have epiphanies of or have random thoughts of might be because of that ancestor. So going into it with intention and ceremony and thought and prayer and just carving a space for that side would kind of help you before you take the steps. So like I did prayer before we do this speaking, we do intentional, conscious prayer, ceremony in your own way. How do you ceremony? What do you honor on your altar? What are your ancestors' favorite food? What is your grandmother's favorite food? You know? But I did slow steps, and genealogy is such a daunting, it never ends. It's so beautifully daunting. Like I get lost in it because I get lost in myself within who I came from. But for those that do want to connect and find a teacher in that way, depending on who you are, where you come from, your ethnic background, if you are indigenous, you could find your communities that possibly do hold this knowledge. And if not, keep living your life, keep putting yourself out in the spaces you want to be and to connect with people like that, because I am nothing without the people around me. I'm nothing with my titas or my sisters that I held space with on the Mauna, with these people that helped me. It's step by step. And sometimes I didn't like that patience where I had to take step by step. I want to know. I'm curious. I want to know so much, but sometimes I got to take a step back and say, oh, maybe it's time for a little bit, instead of going through this and the computer, the books, let me just set this here for a second. Let it breathe for a bit. Let myself breathe for a bit. And if I can honor the wellness in myself, I can honor the wellness above, try to heal 7 generations above, to heal the 7 generations below. And you start small. It's who you meet. Even you, V, meeting you and talking about my passion put me back into going to genealogy. Even while I'm looking at astrology, even if I'm studying tarot, meeting you and explaining who I was set me back into that. So you will meet people, you will go through things in life where you will be forced to call upon these people, because even if it's one ancestor, one can grow to 4. It does not matter like in terms of quantity, but who shows up. I call to the space my grandma, my granny, and my papa, who I am my mother's adopted grandparents. Even if I do genealogy, that does not leave out anything for things that are not inherited through DNA. That's the beautiful thing of our people and that twines back into Māhū. We are caretakers. That's our thing. And
it sounds like you were like a bull with your horns down, ready to just learn all this stuff.
Oh,
and it
man.
sounded like there was a moment of surrender for you.
I remember being in, oh boy, what is that? In Oakland. Oh, there's in the corner cafe. It was by Port Bar. There was a cafe there on the corner.
Tierra Mia.
Yes. In 2021, I was in school online for the University of Hawaii at Manoa. I studied creative activism in the Hawaiian community. We have our political activism. Anyways, I was at this cafe and I'm doing schoolwork and I'm going into genealogy. It wasn't part of my schooling at the time, but I was learning. So I was like, oh, everything can be done at once, whatever. And I wanted to go in the tangible and I want to find, all these things. And I would get so upset. Like I would be like, wait, why? Okay, it's stop. Like in terms of my genealogy work, I look up my mother and father, my grandparents, and I go through archives and I creep up the line. And as someone who is part of the tattooing practice, for those who are receiving, we ask for you to go through up your genealogical line as high as you can go. And it would be on the practitioner or the person giving the uhi or the tattoo, would be the one that is knowledgeable about the chiefly lineages. So that's where we meet in the middle here in genealogy as well. But while it was 2021, 2022, I wanted to know everything. I wanted to get there and I would get frustrated. I did not realize the weight of grounding then because I was exhausted spiritually. This is kind of, in the tangible, yes, you're on your computer. Yes, people can work 9 to 5s on your computer, but when you are working with energy that is in another realm or ancestors that you come from and the energetic weight it has, it's tiring and you have to ground. And I got just stiff-armed to ground during those times. And it took a while. It took a couple years to understand the balance of intuition and the logistical. Because sometimes I would be, here. And then it would drastically come here. So now I'm at this point in my life where it's looking, the flow is looking nice because I understand what I need to do for the practice that I'm doing. I understand what I need to be at my fullest and my most competent energetic capacity to do the work. But Tierra Mia was there. I would be there often just drinking coffee, and on my ancestry.com is where I build my genealogy. It's free for when you just want to plug in your own, but I was doing that and I could go down rabbit holes for it. And my kumu, my teacher, kumu means teacher of the practice or source, kumu means you can go down genealogy rabbit holes and talking about chiefly lineages or any lineages or our people for hours because we're still uncovering that about ourselves. And that's the beautiful thing is I was a generation away from my native tongue in terms of fluency. So my great grandmother, Rose Kahikilan Kauaimoa, who I call to the circle, was a native Hawaiian speaker, but because colonization in the mid 1800s and things happening and rules against our culture, it felt like reaching so far and the fingertips was here and it was poof. But the beauty in that though makes me as my own navigator and with my kumu and my pa is my collective group kumu study. And this, we navigate it back. We have enough courage to say, you know what? We have the fire in our bellies. I know who I am and I'm going to learn who I am. So this is us learning who we are through the people we come from. And even if it isn't our ancestors who are Kanaka Oiwi or Hawaiian, I honor as many people as who I come from because, without that doesn't come me. Even how I grew up, my upbringing from my grandparents who adopted my mother at the Queen Liliuokalani Trust for Hawaiian children, I still needed her. I still need my grandmother that adopted us because she molded me. She, being grown up and she's Haole, she's white Illinois from Canton, Illinois, but she taught me how to be big in space. Because me and my mom were like, wow, stop. Like, oh my gosh, don't say your real opinion out loud. That's going to be weird. Don't do that. But now being able to learn away and then who I am as a Hawaiian sometimes can feel stifled, but being raised with that type of confidence in the spaces I was in, that's what I hope the younger generation can get through the work that we do is the confidence in themselves so that they don't need to do what we did. Because what we're trying to do for the next 7 generations is propel them so far forward that they're so far more. They know what we know at 2, 3, 4. They're in it's ingrained in them. I'm blessed to be in the generation. I'm blessed for this na'au, or my spirit, my energy, to be one of those brave people to be like, nah, no. We are the people in this generation, in the Māhū as well, communities, stepping up, stepping in, taking space, showing people what our norms can be is just, yeah, genealogy and grounding is necessary. And I'm learning the balance.
And having this new confidence in this voice as a native Hawaiian, do you have any advice or any wisdom that you would like to give to future tourists that go to Hawaii?
Yes. So tourists we're not so fond of, but we are fond of visitors. Come in your best, but be aware that you do take space when you come here. And in terms of how our resources are managed, we're going through a water crisis right now that people don't know. My mother is one of the spearheads with that, and the Board of Water Supply, Ernie Lau. The Navy has basically poisoned a large part of our aquifer. When people come and when tourists come over, I urge you to Google Hawaiian communities and support our Po'e Hawaii and our indigenous people, because our minimum wage here, how we have to live here, there's no reparations. But when people do want to visit and be conscious, there's a lot you can learn on the computer before going, instead of saying, I want this place to teach me. Unfortunately, this Hawaii right now, there's a society on top of another society. So it's kind of complicated, where we have Waikiki, where people are like, oh, you know, Waikiki was the place where the chiefs used to surf. That is also the stones of where Kapai Māhū sit. And that is a very sacred place, sacred stones that came here, but encouraged Māhū, Kapai Māhū. And I'll give a link so that you folks can see this mini film of what Māhū was and what Māhū is as healers. But these stones sit there, and our tourists walk by it and they don't know about it. So unfortunately, it's hard to come here as a tourist to want to learn the culture. It won't really give it to you. It'll give you the glamour. It'll give you hula dancers that is not hula. But look up the Hawaiian Kingdom. Look up who we were, educate yourself as best as possible, and know discernment within indigeneity, and that it is a sensitive line we toggle. So when you come over to spaces and stuff, just support our people, whether that be sharing on your Instagram, hey, I went to this event, there was vendors and moonkind things, which is my tita, her business. This is a great place to buy clothes. This is, so engaging with, indigenous places. And it's difficult to hear, because we still also are, our job is to kind of put these things together as Hawaiians, but I do have a lot of organizations that need help. And if you're here and you want to learn, the Iolani Palace is a great place to start. You can visit the Iolani Palace, and it will teach you about our kingdom and for things that happen. And a lot of people learn a lot there when they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize the illegal occupation of the Hawaiian kingdom. But even just going to the Iolani Palace and knowing that without going anywhere else to learn, that is a very knowledgeable place that also, when you talk to them, and they will push you to other places. But yeah, as a tourist or as visitors, we want to be seen. And it's hard for us here with our government, because they do a really good job at stifling that. But we're around, and yeah, just education. And I do not mind sharing any resources in terms of orgs to check out on social media. Even I have a lot of social media handles, but I can provide that after as well, just to keep up and see what the Hawaiian community is about here.
That would be awesome. And we'll definitely share some of those links in our show notes for sure.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. And that'll give me idea.
Yeah, and I heard you mention like your mom's like big part of this, like, water like group and everything. And I remember you telling me that she actually like made them make a sign for your home in indigenous language and not in the colonized language.
Yes.
Eh,
Oh, my mother. Yes, amongst my mother's many. I mean, to be Hawaiian is to be political, and to be political is to be conscious and knowledgeable of what is going on in your community. So many times we have to, as Hawaiians, we run from fire to put fires out. Basically, and she can go into this in depth, but there was PFAS, forever chemicals dumped from 2000, I believe 15. I could be having the date wrong, but they had put a public statement out saying, no, it's fine. You know, the Navy's put out a public statement years ago. It's fine. You know, it's fine. Nothing's, aquifer's okay. Mind you, they already cracked the aquifer in Ko'olave as they bombed it to practice. But the water, though, that sits on Red Hill, where the military do occupy the space, my mother worked with Ernie Lau, who is, like I said, the head of the Department of Water here, to do basically, and we did a march, and a couple of years ago, I think, yeah, and it was just basically spreading awareness in that area, even around where the military is occupied. And there's a very big, with the Hawaiian community and the military people who occupy here, it is very, people don't really mingle amongst the two. But while we're around that area, letting them know about the water, they don't believe us. And families, my mother actually had one family come back because military family who got affected by the water, basically showering in forever chemicals. Their skin was burning.
oh my goodness.
They were pushed and stationed somewhere else. Their story wasn't heard. I think they thought it wouldn't come out, or more intimate of how things were reacting to the people that were there at Red Hill and how the water affected. My mother had brought her back out to share her story. My mother provided water for those families who didn't. I mean, not my mother, the entire Lahui, we had communities working. My mother helped to organize, and there's so many names out there that I could name that help put things like this together just for awareness. But with that, Kuliana, when she took on water protecting and telling, people working with the community about what's happening to the water health, flowed into her nestling here in the, there's neighborhood board here, but the area where we live in, they call it Hawaii Kai. That name is short for Hawaii Kaiser, like Henry J. Kaiser, like Kaiser Permanente.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So when Henry J. Kaiser came here, he said, oh, it's marshland. There's nothing here. Nah, it's not. Decimated our ahu ko'a, which is sites that you can pray to or offer to, to maintain the health of the world's largest fully functioning fish pond that I am from, Kiahupua o Mauna Lua, 523-acre fish pond. He basically dredged it, built on top of it, made a community. This community serves higher class folks. I'm very privileged to be here. Like we said, my grandmother adopted my mother. We live in an area where not many Hawaiian families are. So people call it Hawaii Kai. A lot of people here are settlers for a while now, 40, 50 years, but they perpetuate Hawaii Kai, and that's just not the name. The name of this aina is called Mauna Lua. It does translate into Mauna is mountain, or like a mountain form, and Lua is 2, the number 2. So Mauna Lua, meaning 2 mountains, is this here, where I'm from. So this is Kuomu'okane Mountain, or and this is Kohe Lepe Lepe. They've been at this for about 10 years, and they shut it down all the time. No. All we want to do is put Mauna Lua to signify and re-establish the indigenous place names and our traditional place names on this aina, and we're going to start with Mauna Lua. My mother had backlash. In the neighborhood board. Someone told her to speak English in the board while they are residents in Mauna Lua. She, in her most graceful, activist way, can just glide through these. She's such a graceful human, and when you converse with her, you'll see. But she was able to get it fully funded. Now there is a sign on your way into Mauna Lua, where when you look to the left, it says Hawaii Kai, pretty big. But right under it, it's rocks. It's like stacked rocks. It looks like someone stacked it, but it was like, for the sign of Hoikai. And we were able to get it funded and helped. And it now says Mauna Lua on the pohaku, or on the rocks. So it is interesting when you look, it now says Hawaii Kai and Mauna Lua, which is exactly what happened. Hawaii Kai was built on Mauna Lua's back. So I like to even give that, where people say Hawaii Kai a lot, and no, I'm not from Hawaii Kai, I'm from Mauna Lua. Even that, as Kele is a little hard for me, because within our community, sometimes we're getting into revitalizing our indigenous names, our traditional place names. Portlock, I think in the mid 1800s, Captain Portlock came through the bay, or came through this area as well, and it's named Portlock on the south, the southeasternmost point in that waterway. That's called Kauaihua, and that's my last name, ironically. And so it's like very interesting that I did not, my father's parents actually lived here a while back, and he was on ag land. They were pig farmers, but during the time of Kaiser and the Kalama Valley evictions, that's when in the 80s they started taking out Hawaiian things. And to be Hawaiian then was to be, hey, I'm a farmer, and I don't care if there's Japanese farmer, Chinese farmer, Filipino farmer, we're farmers, so we're together on this. But in the 80s, they did a doozy on basically turning a lot of agriculture land to urban and building more. And they built on our waterways. Our stream health is declined. Our water health is declined. How I said I'm from the Ahupua of Mauna Lua, we don't grid map here. We start from the pinnacle of our mountain and we go down and we map. So it looks like a pizza slice, our islands. That's how we map our things so that we can utilize all the resources in its utmost entirety. If you grid mapped it, some people might just be here and not have resources up Mocha or up in the mountain, so how we mapped it was different. But yeah, ever since Kaiser came and renamed it, and not only Kaiser, but how our things have been going, it's just my mother's doing a really amazingly sturdy, steadfast bull of a job in the most graceful way, that she was able to get Mauna Lua back, at least present, to know what this name is called. And we take those little wins really big. It could be as much as a little sign on the side of the road. And that's okay, because that's hulihia, or the big turning of change, doesn't happen. It's like a ship turning. It's very, very slow. So even these little wins are huge for us in a sea of losses, where the government can come and basically change ag land to urban and say, hey, farmers, get out. So that's what we're battling right now. The lease is up for our farmers in the back of Kamilunui Valley. So we're trying to make sure that they get protected, and that remains agriculture land for our cassava planters, for our mala planters, dry land taro planters, and many other things in the back of our valley that we have.
Nice. Yeah. And would you say like your mom's like spirit and how much she does for the community has inspired the work that you're doing through kava, through tattooing, like the tribal medicine that you're learning?
Yes. And yes, she is. And I give her all of the credit. My mother never got the chance. And that's the point where we have to be graceful and conscious with the generation one above us, because the generation above us they grew up in a time where hospitality major, you're working at the hotels, you're working to, tourism. They made it so that there was no time to be Hawaiian. So from my mother's upbringing, even raising me and her getting into lahui work is massive for her, and how she is a kukulu, or a pillar in this community particularly, has made me, when I came back here, a couple of weeks ago, I did this intentionally for the supermoon in Aries, but I made a hala lei. And a hala, we weave with lauhala mats, but there's a fruit on the tree. And that fruit you take, and it means death and transformation. When you cut it a certain way, you cut it, you can make a lei out of it. So I made our Māhū, which is our family altar in the backyard, consciously knowing that, okay, my mother is, I got big shoes to fill. I got some places to go. And then that is my highest mentor. It's my mother in how she does things, how she speaks about things, how she navigates confrontation, how she does stuff. So I stood in front of my altar for Moon of Aries, and I said, I made my proclamation that I've been gone for a while, but I'm back. I'm gonna step into my kuleana. And even if it's as small as selling kava at the beach to my community members, I'm going to start small, but know that my responsibility here is to help my people, and to help my people means to help myself. Growing up in the rugby community, there's a lot of alcohol. Growing up in the Hawaiian community, there's a lot of alcohol. There's a lot of parallels between alcoholism here. So my adventure currently is I go to Awawa Malu, Sandy Beach, right? Well, a 5-minute drive from my house, and I sell pre-made alva for as very, even if you don't have money and you want alva, come drink the alva. But a lot of it is just providing a holistic alternative for alcohol and substance that is from your God. Like, how good is that? The alva root is the most sacred plant, and again, Māhū magic, bro. Like, I'm here to just help. And I can't do that help without just stepping into the responsibilities like my mother did. So that intention with my mom, who she is, and how she's been able to navigate gave me like vigor even. She even made Kele come out, like she's like, all right, bro, like, this is what we're doing, and you can do it any way you want. And this is us. This is creative activism.
Yeah.
My classmates and my sisters and brothers work relentlessly in the political realm, in law, in everything for our Lahu in our community. Lahu is how we address the Hawaiian community. But yeah, man, my mom's my hero, my me'e is what we call it. So yeah, she's a healer in herself, and I'm lucky to be coming first to be kanaka'ui. I'm lucky to have these challenges. I think it was what it is. I'm blessed, and I cannot complain about the problems I feel, because boy, what a good blessing it is when you are able to liberate yourself and others and create bridges instead of wars. And that's all we want to do.
And creating bridges, I've had like a couple conversations about the different tattoos and the styles, and like from the left to the right arm. And
yes.
I never knew like how symbolic a lot of these tattoos were. And I kind of wanted to ask if you're allowed to like speak on your face tattoo, or why one arm has more tattoos than the other arm. And
yes.
Yeah, share what you can.
Okay, so I have a lot of uhi. We call it uhi in Hawaiian, and that's traditional tattooing. I also have my tattoos that came from a gun, and I honor all types of art. I am a tattoo enthusiast, just naturally. I think the coolest thing growing up was I always liked art and drawing and just here and there as a child, but I never knew that we had this tattoo. What do you mean tattooing traditional? What? I didn't know that it wasn't a thing. The tattooing and the placements are placed, which is very interesting. And as a Māhū, I have interesting thoughts about this as well, because if you are born a wahine, like myself, I would get tattooed on my kane side, so there's a kane side and a wahine side. Kane side, or your more masculine side, is the right side, and your wahine side is your more intuitive side. That's your left side. Kind of says like, if heart is on the hina side as well. There's a lot of mana or thought that goes behind the tattooing placement. So when I grew up into this practice, Or it was maybe like 2015 is when I received my first uhi. But on the right side, when you get tattooed, it is to strengthen the masculinity of the wahine. So you're attempting to create a balance. With our kane, our men have their tattoos on their uhi on their left side to create again the balance of ku and hina, the masculine and the feminine. But even within our practice, we reach for the middle. You know, like even within the practice, we are striving for the balance. But it's interesting, as I'm Māhū, I toggle the line. And I think for me, receiving uhi on my masculine side, attributed to who Kele is and to what I do. But I am one of the first recipients. I'm one of the first wearers of something on the maka or on the face as a wahine. I'm Māhū, but I do, you know, I'm wahine, maybe Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and a lot of days I'm kane. You know?
Yeah.
But I am so blessed to be around Tita who also wear as well. And the wahine who I am around who wear the something on their face or the carvers of this path, especially as radical feminine, radical wahine. When things aren't in balance, there's a way where it will be set in balance. And sometimes it's nature, and that can replicate in receiving tattooing. When you receive a tattoo here as your first uhi that you receive, and why genealogy is so important, we are the genealogists, or we are practitioners of this genealogy, that when you are first receiving your tattoo, you meet your family. You're tasked to say, hey, all right, take your genealogy, climb as high as you can, research as hard as you can, pray as hard as you can, and come back to us. And then we'll see what is highlighted within your ancestry. And then also talk to me about who you are. Are you a nurse? Are you an electrician? Are you a teacher? And that determines the patterns that you wear. That determines your ancestry actually determines the patterns that you are allowed to wear. So your first uhi that you receive is on the hip to the ankle. It's like a pathway down. But within that, it's called the alaniho. That is the pattern, and that's what you receive as your first. But the alaniho is the path of teeth, the path of your foundation. And who is your foundation but your genealogy, from who you come from? So you get that, you receive that first, and then slowly you speak to people. My right side, I've had tattoos from even as much as my ancestors are with me. I play the game of rugby, but it ensures that I come back home when I'm finished and continue my work here. So that was an intention on one. I can show, and I did mention the lehala, and this is the lehala. So I do not mind sharing this. Sometimes people think, this is protection to me, but this also is deeply transformative. And I show that because it would do no justice. As I mentioned, the lei that I made before out of hala, they look like triangles when you cut them. So that's hence why it looks the way it does. So you receive tattoos also just to go through what your ancestors went through. That is the one thing that they felt. I am consciously feeling the same eha, or the same pain, but beautiful, transformative, transfigurative, evolutionary pain, that it changes you when you receive them. We go through ceremony. So again, when you go and you receive, you sit and you refrain from intaking salt. So the week before, no salt, drink water. Be conscious, pray. This is a good time to do your genealogy. This is a good time for understanding what the process you're going through is, not only physical, but highly transformative in your na'au, or in your wairua, in your soul. So I will speak on my maka, it's called a mo'o'awai. This is called the mo'o'awai.
And you're talking about the tattoo on your face.
My face is a mo'o'awai. Mo'o'awai is a path. And when I went through that particular journey, I didn't, and I can get very emotional about it, I did not realize that I would be put through the trials and tribulations that I would be tested with in the days and months and year to come. I received it, and as a wearer of it, I have to be able to hold it properly. And that is the utmost important as a practitioner in the practice, is you do not give people patterns that their lineage cannot hold. So you are placed upon you is what you can wear as a person and what that looks for you in your interpersonal life. So that journey took away a lot of people. And I think that's why I went through what I went through after receiving this in March 2023. And I mean, yeah, that's part of it. We do the no salt a week before you receive it. We go through ceremony. It is a practice of Kane, or God, the god Kane, creation of life. And he and Ava, or the kava plant, that is the domain. That is one of the domains of Kane. But many of our gods and our ancestors utilize the Ava root in their own way. And that's what we do before ceremony. We know Ava, we drink Ava, we set the precedent, we oli, we chant, we do our interpersonal protocol within the recipient and us as practitioners. And when we lie on the mat, it's on. When you lie on the mat, you know something's coming, and we place our hands on the recipient and we pray. We try to get everything on the same energetic frequency of receiving something energetic, and it's born. So you always have the patterns. The patterns, I've had these uhi in my bones from before it was on my skin. My cousin, who is the kumu of this practice, fishes that out of people. So we are just the messengers and the bringers of what was already inside of somebody, what it can look like physically, the capabilities, the strengths, the bravery, the pain that someone has felt. You can wear that and know that you can take that in your life, and as much as it changes your own life, you change other people's life without knowing, for the better.
Yeah.
And then in our hope.
And would you say that these tattoos have brought you closer to yourself?
These tattoos have taught me how to overcome adversity. It brought me closer to myself in ways that I didn't realize I needed going through, especially trauma within our indigenous community. Some people process differently. The way I process is a beautiful way of being able to feel pain so that I can see what my na'au will do and how it will behave and how I operate under stress. But also this created me, and I know that I'm not the only one walking when I walk in solitude though. I'm not the only one. I could be alone in the street walking. I'm just not just me though. And with or without the uhi, they would be with me. But this also shows others that I walk with them, and I'm brave enough in this society in 2024 to wear what I wear without careers or jobs telling me or, being scared of it. Because a lot of that here is you can't work Hawaiian Airlines with visible tattoos.
Wow.
Interesting, right? Yeah. So it's a bold and brave statement to be outwardly like, we say, aipo haku, I'd rather eat rocks than conform to whatever. I would rather live in my van and figure this out and be my own entrepreneur, be my own guide in this with the help of my community. This reminds me even when I look. And sometimes I forgot that I had been wearing this here. Because when I received my maka'uhi, I went to Aotearoa to play rugby, New Zealand. I went to Oregon to play rugby. I was in California to play rugby, and I came back home. And then I was here and there, but I wasn't in my community wearing what I was wearing. I forgot because I was already in Aotearoa, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow. I was processing everything. So when I came back home and people looked at me, I noticed children looking at me, and but when they see my ano and how I behave, they're curious. They don't really, they catch the vibe, but they can't categorize the vibe. So it's cool to see their minds open up and the stereotypes kind of fall away with tattooing also present day.
Yeah, and that reminds me of like how you said like coming to California, you kind of felt like you had to find yourself again, like your authenticity when you got back to home. What was the biggest thing that like impacted you and how you were able to find your authenticity again?
I had to let go of a lot of things that weren't me. I mean, you trek through places, things. I was away for so long, and my authenticity came about by saying, okay, how do I pull apart my ego from my authentic self? And what did that ego do for me so I can thank it? And what, in terms of protecting me and guiding me and keeping me safe? But what's shooting me too much? And do I have the strength of my authenticity to leave that armor down? And so I had to peel away layers of, especially within the sport of rugby, especially as a wahine, being able to have the privilege to play rugby for 10 years, especially when it's not here. We do not have women's rugby here in Hawaii, in Oahu. That's why I left. But me being able to peel the layers away of me even being adopting to things that maybe weren't me, but also trial and error. So I took a lot of things from the continent, America, and then coming back here, my authenticity thrived after I was like, wait, I can chill out. I'm safe. I'm safe. And I think a lot of it was I'm safe to be me. I'm safe enough with my inner child work to say, nah, I got baby Kele. Like, got you.
It was about you like basically accepting like who you are and arriving in the space of like, I'm here, like and existing in your authenticity and unpacking some things that you seem to have picked up from the mainland.
Yes, and from the continent, a lot of it was I did pick up. It's so complicated in that way because in America or in America, you do have to put yourself there. You have to. If you wait, sometimes things will pass you. So I noticed myself being more advocative for myself, and I thought that was sometimes coming back to my authenticity, that's just actually who I am, and I didn't even realize that by dropping some layers, I was like this since I was a kid, and I learned things as a kid to just be like, I should just. But now, if I saw little Kele, you won't speak up. You want something to say? Because that's a good thing to say. Those are good. These are, I have my authentic thoughts even, and my authenticity is difficult because I am privileged to have been able to see the world. So I have had the privilege of gaining worldly insight and worldly knowledge to not only liberate me, but to, I guess, just unapologetically lose the things that I've been built into my ego for a while. And I had to tell myself that I was safe. You are safe. You are loved. You're medicinal. My affirmations and my grounding and who I am come from the wellness. You posted something today where it was, if you don't focus on your wellness, it's going to be the illness that you're going to have to focus on something. Focus will be paid, but what will it be on? And my affirmations to myself and just re-establishing safety in my thoughts so that it feels brave enough to come out, even if I'm the only one, even if my voice is shaky and I'm the only one with the perspective. It's a perspective that is valued to be heard. And to be honest, I wouldn't even be speaking like this like a couple of years ago. So she works, you know, she works. That's what I'm trying to say, is that she works.
And for those of y'all that can't see Kele, she is referring to the tattoo across the chin down the neck.
Oh, and it is a she. It is a she, and she is and that's Māhū. I have so many multi dimensions that, you know what, this felt like. And at the beginning when I did receive my mo'awa, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm being mean. Why are you talking like that? Why are you like? And I really had to think, like, am I bad? Like, is this like, oh my gosh, I should chill out a bit. But you know what? What? Anything? I mean, no, you're okay, bro. Like, you know, and you know, sometimes anger is sacred. And that's okay. And how it comes out and what we speak. I mean, I go against a lot of the grain here as a Māhū in Hawaii, in Oahu, at my age. So, like the younger Māhū, I am looking up to them. I'm like, bro, they know who they are. They know what they want. They know what they don't want. And they become the medicine for me, just like I became the medicine for my mother to do the work. So it's a symbiotic relationship we're having with everything. Everything serves each other, just like our ahu pua'a is from the top down measured. So is our knowledge from the generations top down, and even coming back up and relearning life and relearning, hey, who am I? What do I want to do? Who do I want to be? Who am I trying to inspire right now? But yeah, reestablishing my authenticity through safety, through grounding, through affirmations, cleansing, my cleansing and our cleansing ritual here. If I don't have smoke or incense on the continent, I took salt, pa'akai, from I have salt from Kauai, alaya, but we go into the ocean to clean ourselves. So me coming back from America, from the continent, I had long hair in my lauoho. I had long lauoho. Time for a chop. Lauoho is hair, and I had it down, and I just, time for a chop. I'm going to take that. I'm going to put it on my altar. I'm going to go through my cleansing things. I'm going to leave the things that don't serve me there, but I'm going to thank it because it got me to where I'm at. So when I release, it's always through love. Yeah. When I let go, it's always through radical love because it's shaping me. It's shaped me, and it is continuously shaping me. So I'm just blessed to be around the people I'm around, to learn in multiple facets.
Yeah. And speaking of radical love, we have our last question. And if you could describe radical acceptance in one word, phrase, or mantra, what would it be?
Unapologetic.
I love that fire that you put on that.
I got it. I'm a little stellium. There she is too. Radical acceptance is I'm giving my baby, which is my inner child, I'm giving my baby the radical love it needs, or she or he or they need, because this is other dimensional. My higher dimension self is, hey, no, radical, you were perfect from the day you came out, brah. You are perfect from the moment you are here. You are here in this world, never to conform. That's boring. You like, you know what I mean? And I am, from the moment you are here in this world, never to conform. That's boring. And I am blessed, privileged, and lucky to have gotten to the point to where I'm at now, to radically love Kele, to radically say, I had a brief story. I went to my first MMA class here. I trained some, but I get anxiety when I'm here because of the entity. I mean, also it's kind of like a very masculine space. Sometimes it can be very unhealthy, but I remember walking to the gym and I was like, I'm here to learn, but also I'm here because people are going to learn me as well. And there's not many wahine in the space. You know, there's never many wahine in the space for boxing gyms or like mixed martial art gyms here. But radical acceptance was, I'm going in fully me. I'm going to speak Pidgin. Pidgin is our like Hawaiian Creole. So I'm going to talk the way I talk. I'm going to move the way I move, but I'm also going to move in love the way I love myself and spread that with others. And if I'm going to be overwhelming, hopefully it's through love. But I noticed radical acceptance was I accepted everybody else. I was like, yeah. Whoa, oh, yeah, okay. But me, I was like, oh, I should kind of fit here maybe. If they're like this, then maybe I should do this. But now I'm like, you know what? I love me. I love me. I love everyone else that's loved me, and I love who doesn't love me. And I radically accept me so much that I can't help but to radiate that energy. Yeah, Kele is out. And even if I have a bad day, I go and I honey my tree, which is, I know is present. Maori do it as well. Hawaiians do it as well. But we, nose to nose, I go out to my tree. All right, this is going to be a good day because I'm here.
That's interesting. My mother does that to me. My bio mother, my Filipino mother.
Okay.
That's how she kisses me.
It's interesting. My little sister, when she was a baby, used to do that to my mother. Like always just, but yeah, in our greeting, if I see my brothers, if I see my sisters, aunties, uncles, kids, I will do that. And that's something that we more, so I do that with the tree in my front yard. If I'm having a bad day, I do it. She reminds me, radical acceptance is where you should be at, because when you leave here, you take everything with you and you're good. You're protected, you're loved, you're safe. And for me to remind myself that I can accept every part of me. I can feel like Tiana Malia one day and feel like Kele the other. But I grew up in Tiana, being called Tiana Malia. My mom calls me, so don't come that shit. That's scary. Like, Tiana Malia. I'm like, whoa. But Kele never really got a chance to play. Like, I never really got to feel what that was about. Mm-hmm. And I hope that our younger and our community now even can, and that's all I try to do is put that out there so that everyone can so that we don't shame is just the lowest of the low vibration. I'm not even, never that. Never. Yeah. No, don't be ashamed. Do not be ashamed. Say it louder. So I just want to be a microphone for others sometimes too. It's like,
hell yeah, that's beautiful. And speaking of being a microphone for others, do you got any shout outs you want to do?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. Shout out to all my titas on the Mauna, my sisters when we took space on Mauna Kea. They are pivotal in the community, and I have their Instagrams, and they post a lot of current events of what's happening in the community. I have Māhū. Like, I have so many different, oh my goodness, my people are amazing. In the Māhū community, I have shout outs for, my mentor, actually, Chris Kramer, is my family's mentor for this space and place. So Chris Kramer it was very knowledgeable to learn and teach us here. Brian Kamali, who is my teacher in the university, who was pivotal for creative activism, poetry, writing, radicalism. Māhū, yeah, Tita Vaughn, who is a birth worker. She is magic, medicine. The list could go on, which it will when I put all of their usernames I can provide, and you can check them out for yourself. These are amazing resources, amazing humans, amazing things that we're fighting for. And I just want to amplify their voice.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Shoot. Oh, how can people follow you if you want to be followed?
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. If you want to check out what I'm doing, I'm not crazy, but my Instagram handle is Kawaihua23, KAWAIHOA 23. And I do have my Instagram, which is Manava Ava is what I have a lot of Ava Kava events. Yes. Manava Ava at MANAWA.AWA. That is a small one. We just started. I'm trying to share things like Mana'o Mondays, where there is information, Mana'o thoughts, knowledge, or Ike knowledge about the plant of kava. So I do a lot of, that's promoting where I'll be, but also I'm trying to give people knowledge about this plant as a holistic medicine, as it is actually accessible on a lot of different platforms. I even think Amazon distributes cover, which is interesting. Yeah, that's me. That's Kele.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Like the moment I met you, I knew I wanted to bring you on here.
You said that, I was like, please no, guys. Which is hilarious because I thought we'd be rapping.
And it's incredible. Oh, and before we go, we had a closing like chant that you wanted to do.
Yes.
Do you still feel drawn to do this?
Yeah. And I want to just say, and this is what we'll close it. Kalamai. We'll do actually. Yeah. Uhola ia kamakaluana. Uike alohala. Kuka ia tahaluana. Pavehi mai na lehua. Mai ko oku ia tahana vailang. Mahalo e na atua. Mahalo e na tupuna na e. Mahalo me te alohala. Mahalo me ke alohala. Mahalo. So what I did there was I just mahaloed the universe, mahaloed my gods, mahalo kiakua. Thank you to the bigger ethers out there. Thank you to you folks for having me, giving the utmost gratitude to you all.
Thank you. That was beautiful to hear and to watch. It was like I felt like it was a big old crowd of your people singing through you.
Oh my goodness! Hopefully, that's their voice. Them.
I got the chills.
I haven't even done that. I was gonna do something else, but then I was like, no, we're gonna do it peacefully. Because the other one, it was like, which is like the high will be brought low, the low will be brought high, and we're in here. So I'm mentioning that one too.
Yeah. I would love that. It made me want to go, ha.
Well, right. It's just, yes. Like, you know, like, man, I don't know. Only is a passion of mine. I like to only chant and learn. But yeah, thank you folks so much. And yeah, mahalo nui yao.
Tap that follow button. Give us a 5-star rating and review. And hey, your review might end up on the show. This podcast is organically grown by Rafaela Landestoy, Leah Jackson, and myself, V. Vasquez. Editor and sound designer, Leah Jackson of Creative. Original music, produced by Basque. His music is amazing. And emotional support by our fur babies, Nugget and Pukalani.